The fact that Kelvin Marshall was quicker proves to you that, and the KMR cars are the
Well,
weapons of choice at the moment.
the writing was on the wall after last year's World Final, because if you remember, and certainly the very last meeting of the year last year at Birmingham, the Shootout Championship, Kelvin Marshall was spun on the very first lap of that Shootout Championship. He rejoined right in front of the race leader. He then disappeared off, and then he came home in third place. So the writing was on the wall for the rest at the end of last year that Kelvin really had cracked the nut.
And as a bloke, like I say, but Kelvin in his post race interview with me, he did say to me that he's not afraid to give away all his secrets. He keeps nothing to his chest, perhaps to his detriment a little bit, because like I said, some of the guys he races with now are quicker than him. But he says, you don't get any different, and he's doing this part time, building the cars at the moment. He still earns a quid, so as well as doing the cars, it may be a case that he might become a full time one soon, because obviously he is getting the demand for the cars. I mean, there's cars all over the country now, and on the continent now.
Yeah, yes, that's correct. Yeah,
and when Gordon went on his sabbatical, so did Dave Richardson for a bit, and I think that's where they're playing catch up now. The pair of them are playing catch up, and
maybe not. I don't. To be honest, I don't think Gordon and Dave Richardson are as closely entwined as many think they are, or perhaps as they once were. I don't think that really, but you're correct in that Dave Richardson, he has got a circuit racing program, and he was off concentrating on that at the first part of the year. And then obviously we saw Dave again in the summer, because the touring car scene has a summer break, and now Dave will be back off because he's part of that package. He'll be back off doing that again. So I think what it is that really people don't. It's only human to not want the same old, and new challenges. Dave Richardson came in, he completely conquered Bristol Formula 2. So he's gone off to seek new challenges in Ginettas and the circuits. And Gordon Moody, really, what more has he got to prove and achieve in Bristol Formula 2? It would be great to see him have a go at another formula. So,
I mean, what's the favourite at the moment? I mean, obviously everyone will cry and say, "Oh, Superstocks," but I would say,
well, I've been sticking my neck out a lot this evening, haven't I? Saying but I am of the belief that Gordon will be running a national hot rod program.
You see, and I think that would be a very, very good career switch for him if he does go down that line, because I think his driving style is suited to that, and I think that with the aid of perhaps speaking to the likes of Dave Richardson and saying, right, how can I make a hot rod go that much quicker than the guys that are out there already? And I think personally, I would not be surprised if Gordon Moody is not National Hot Rod World Champion within 2 years.
It would that would be very good, and that would be a lot of people would like to see that, of course, because at the moment in national hot rods, the Irish, be it from Northern Ireland or the Republic of Ireland, are utterly dominant.
Oh, totally.
In national hot rods. So
yeah, totally. Yeah, John Christie was there at Hensford, and he was, like I say, he was loving the Formula 2's action, and of course, obviously with Graham Fagan crossing the line in second, the Irish eyes were smiling as the old song went.
But yes, I say that's what I would think that Gordon would do. Don't go saying that I've gone and said it. People out there, it's not necessarily the case as it stands at the moment.
Would say
Gordon is still racing Formula 2 at the moment. He's still with his cars.
If you were to look at the signs, though, I can see where you're coming from on that. He's had a recent new sponsor, Ideal Commercials. Now, Ideal Commercials, I know for a fact, sponsor a fair few hot rod drivers. I've only just had a look to see Jason Q. He has got them plastered over his car. So, there's a fair few drivers who there's a fair few clues there. I mean,
yes, there is a lot of links between Gordon's current sponsors and National Hot Rod sponsors. Yes, a lot of his current sponsors would move with him over to National Hot Rods. Yes,
I'll tell you what I would like to see, though. I think everyone else would like to see, considering, and this is another bit of breaking news this week, that the Scottish are going to get another dose of Formula One action at Lochgelly and Cowden Beath, promoted by Speedworth and Star Treks. What's the betting that we don't see Gordon Moody in a Formula One as a kind of like test, like I said, guest appearance?
Who knows? That would be very good as well. Who knows?
Well, like I said, we've had Chris Burgoyne do quite well. Last year's shootout meeting, he did a guest appearance in the team,
yes,
and got second in the
but
final.
That's because Chris Burgoyne because the Team Davidson link is very strong between various drivers in Formula One and Formula Two. And whilst we're not going to go down that particular murky route, Gordon does not have links to Team Davidson. I think it's probably, it's not unfair to say that. I think you just have to observe the social media and think, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we're rapidly approaching the end of the season then, and well, there's a few, like I say, we've talked about Taunton, we've talked about Sunday, we've talked about, the shootouts and things like that and who's doing what. I think next year will be a funny old year, but it will be a different one. We have seen plenty of drivers this year come to the fore, and I think there's going to be a couple more that come to the fore as well. But I think the main thing is, if over the winter, and this is something that I know that the promoters probably are thinking of, is that they need to have better fixture planning next year, and that will prevent the embarrassments that we have, where just 8 Formula 2s turn out, 8 out of 400. That's not very good, is it?
Not really, no. I do hate to use the old adage, I hate to say I told you so, but it was 2 years ago and 3 years ago, back when the Bristol Formula 2 used to hold the forums. I said this was going to happen at some point in the future, but, well, I do hate to say that. I just hope that, yes, there is better fixture planning. But the problem is, by the same token, there cannot be a wholesale cull of fixtures.
No.
Because whilst the Briscoe Formula 2 chairman last year, which was then Dave Coventry, did say to all the promoters, I want you to cut your dates, there's only one promoter who did. And I don't think that promoter has actually gained anything from that. Quite the opposite, in fact.
Mm-hmm. Which was that? Which promoter did cut?
Inca Race.
Mm.
Because just think, there hasn't been a Birmingham meeting since May, and Birmingham was once the mainstay of Briscoe Formula 2.
Well, not just that. It's the Southern Cowden Beef, isn't it? That's what I call it. It's where we go Saturday night racing. I personally think if they can get, I mean, the trouble with Inca Race, I hate to say this, is that they have too many formulas and they struggle to encapsulate them all into one meeting. And I think that, again, perhaps internally they need to look at their fixtures. I'm not telling you how to run their tracks, but when you have, perhaps you need to have the big paydays as well as the I factor meetings, so to speak. You've got,
which are actually quite a good little business, the I factor meetings.
Yeah.
Don't knock them.
Exactly. I'm not knocking it, but like I say, I mean, it's probably the number of spectators they get, though. I, in Roman numerals. But I will say this now. The ones, the twos, and the national minis, always great meetings whenever they're all on together. Twos and hot rods, I'm not too fussed about that. Your national hot rods as well. You can go too many times with a too big a lot of meeting. Mix it up a bit. If you've got 3 or 4 good formulas that you bring a crowd in, spread them out a bit, And I will say this now: do we really need 2 Barfords a month?
Well, on the strength of the entries this year, probably not. But the problem is that if you cut a meeting out, then you've got the interests. Because if you wind the clock back 20 years, how was Formula 2 stock car racing at Cowden Beath built? How was the success built? It was built on the fact that it was every week.
Mm-hmm.
it built up the interest. You see, there is that line in the sand, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean that's why sometimes I feel that's why I say why I feel that season's ended. That's crap. Because I was brought up on a diet of midweek as at St Austell and Newton Abbot. So you had twice a midweek, then something at the weekend too. I mean, in the 70s, you had, six days of racing if you wanted it, because, you had, I think it was Weymouth on the Monday night, Taunton, St Austell on the Tuesday, Newton on Wednesday. Thursday was either Ringwood or they did have a couple of meetings at Bristol on a Thursday night, and then Saturday and Sunday it was racing again. So you were at things like that. I mean, Bill tells me he used to race 6 times a week.
I don't doubt.
No, so that's the situation we've got, and I do wish, and this is with the greatest respect. I mean, the tracks which are bucking the trend should keep it as it is, but the tracks that have been going down as opposed to going up need to look at their fixtures badly, look at the way that they spread them out, because obviously if your track is brutal, I will say this now, or hard on the car, or is an engine killer, or is the rest of it, you cannot have meetings every other week, purely because of the fact the way that the cars are set up now, the way that the cars are run to the ragged edge. If they're not getting done, if the cars are going pop, then you won't be seeing that driver because they simply can't afford to come out again. And those, when Barford had its 9 cars, how many of those cars were Scottish?
Nearly all, I think.
Yeah, exactly. There's something wrong with the local scene there. I'm not going to say that. And the same goes to, unfortunately, Buxton. Buxton has been struggling. And, same with the Midlands in general. A domestic meeting at the Midlands tracks will struggle to get up to 20 cars. And that is a sad state of affairs where once upon a time, 50, 60 car meetings were the norm.
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head in that there's just so many formulae in the Midlands area, and Formula 2 is struggling to find its niche in the marketplace anymore.
And that's where I think Scotland and the West Country will forever be a half decent hotbed for stock car. And people do moan about us pasties and us things about our passion for stock car and Formula 2. But at the end of the day, we're still going with Formula 2 when you guys have gone to Formula 1.
And whilst talking on entries and regards, let's just say, hats off to GMP for the entries in Formula 2s. The second half of this season has been a night and day difference to the first half.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, they have pulled the things, and they're attracting people to go up there, which is the thing. I mean, Gary Silliphant, for instance, is going up there for a second trip this year, as is, Dan Moss is practically a regular up there,
But not only that, they've got an awful lot of new local drivers as well. New faces. It is working.
And the rumour is a couple of the people who thought the grass was greener on the other side, across the valley, have decided that actually perhaps not, we'll go back there. And that is probably the biggest flower in the feather in the cap that Cowdy can have, is if they start getting some drivers back from Superstocks. But we talk about that. Obviously, talking about Super. And there we go. That's the Superstocks. Talking about that, we'll get onto that in a moment, because I was just where we did this before the Superstocks World Final. Now, there was a small matter of a large gentleman called Chris Bradbury, who we all know and love. He was once of this shire. Decided to go back to his roots and head back off to Agadowie. The part racetrack, part Black Lace song. Agadoo, do. And Agadid, did. Mr. Brad, with the gold. He become the wearer of the gold tutu. Yes, he is Chief Sissy for the year, Superstocks World Champion. And he did put it to him in a way unaccustomed to them. They were going to do some sissy dancing. The hankies were out the window. They were going to do a bit of dancing as well with that. But Bradders was having none of it.